longer?
115 seconds.
Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I am Sly.
And I am bound for glory, Spook.
We are into a grand final after...
What's that?
It's one of those things we lose 3 out of 4 attempts. We're into the grand final after comprehensively beating Richmond in the preliminary final on Friday night. Went into that game with no changes. Again, third week in a row, no changes. I don't think that's probably happened at any point through the home and away season.
The last 15 years.
Yep. And in that opening quarter,
Yep.
they probably dominated play in the first few minutes. They probably could have been a few goals up. We weathered that, and then what happened?
The world came crashing down, and we lost by 140 goals. Oh, hang on, no, we're in Bizarro land, aren't we?
Yeah.
We smashed them.
So
that was the equivalent of football porn.
Yep. So that first quarter, we comprehensively beat them all over the park. I think a really important thing to note is...
We beat them all over the park?
Yeah. But when the goalie had that first shot, Thomas did the pass to the pocket, the goalie did a bit of a play out, snapped it. What a difference it makes when you kick those goals, rather than what happened in the previous final where we missed all those sort of shots. Game went on, and Richmond just started being asphyxiated by our pressure.
Yep.
We totally dominated that first quarter. We came out with about a 4-goal lead. Second quarter, you probably expected they would come back hard.
I did.
And then some 9'12" Texan stepped into the game, took 3 ripping marks,
Kicked 3 ripping goals. Well, I kicked 3 goals.
They're ripping goals in Collingwood land. Special note that, you know what, you put the ball out in front of him for him to run on. No one's going to stop him. No one's going to get close to him.
Well, that's the goalie. Kick low and hard to him, he gets out in front of his man. Coxie, I think, actually was just better overhead than he's ever been in any game ever.
But he was on a bit of a lead. He wasn't taking...
Yeah, we actually had that big one long lead, yeah. But there was a couple of really good contested marks where everything that we've said should be his major asset came to the fore. Now, let's just hope he hasn't fired 1 week too early, and I'm sure we'll come back to that.
Yep.
But,
So that first half was very reminiscent of the 2010 prelims against Geelong.
Agree on that.
They just had nowhere to go. They were fumbly. They looked nervous. Their mainstays were just doing nothing. And they were looking for answers, but couldn't find any.
They imploded. I mean, some of the... and you see it more in the replay. And obviously you don't notice it when you're up with Edmund Hillary at the MCG. But some of the cracks and jabs and goes they were having at each other when it wasn't going their way was just incredible. Someone Richmond like to be that unnerved to start snapping at your own.
Well, that tends to happen too when teams start falling apart. And I think one of the really important things that comes out of winning a flag is you start getting that self-belief and you almost develop that prescience about you knowing where your teammates are going to be, and you just have that aura about always finding a way to win. And that wasn't happening for him. And actually, we've sort of developed that to an extent the last few weeks. We just, as you've pointed out repeatedly, had that self-belief. Going late into the second quarter, we're 50 points up. They kicked that late goal, brought the lead down to 44 points at halftime. Not a great, margin in Collingwood history. But what did you think would be in store for the second half?
I'm sure I messaged you that I was expecting them to come back hard after that. They weren't going to take that line down. And they certainly did. And I think there are elements there where I think it's a mix of we almost went into our own shells a little bit, which is not unnatural when you think you're probably one step away from a grand final berth. You cotton wool yourself a little bit. We weren't running as hard. We weren't taking the risks and playing on feverishly that we were. We were really good and looking to steady and try and maybe protect it. But I think once we took that foot off the pedal and that few percent dropped out of the equation, that we really then let them back or get a sniff coming back into the game. And that's when I almost filled my trousers.
Well, I think just toward the end of the second quarter, last 5 minutes or so, when they actually got a bit of play, it seemed like we wanted the perfect forays going forward. You know, previously we had a lot of chaos. You know, play on, run hard, and all that sort of stuff. And it was like they were over finessing, handballing too much, trying to get that perfect construction forward. And in that third quarter, yeah, as you said, it's not unusual to feel that reluctance. I mean, I think it almost cost us a grand final in 2010. We sort of came out, and instead of playing the game that had got us the lead, we started protecting the lead.
Yeah.
And Richmond came into it. And I think a good thing is we actually asserted some tempo football. Like we tried to just slow it down, control it. And as the quarter wore on, I mean, Richmond was still in it because the margin wasn't huge. But it felt like we weren't panicking at any stage, which I think happened in that 2010 grand final. Or a more recent example is last year when we played Adelaide and we were like 50 points up and they came at us. Everyone just unravelled. Here they had a great resolve to just steady and to reset for the last quarter.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair to Richmond, I reckon they threw everything at us in that quarter that they had. Yeah, looking at it from up on high, you could really see them run back hard and fill the holes every time that we're on the counter. I mean, it was credit to them. And what you said before about the prescience, that was really starting to shit me because no matter what pressure they were under, they just threw the ball in the boot and it just landed on one of their teammates. And that's been a mainstay of their game as well. Where, you can only get by so much on luck. And
some of that's going to be hard to do because they're always moving. I mean, I believe in luck. I mean, I had a conversation with someone. Do you believe that there's just blind luck in football? I mean, I do. You know, people go, you make your own luck, and I think, well, that's true for about 95% of the way, but sometimes shit just happens.
Yeah, I mean, the ball bounces your way 3 times in a row, that's more than luck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a lot of that game, but then we sort of weathered that, and we had a couple of steadies. I think you sit up there going, you just need a goal. We just need to come out. We need to answer with one.
Last quarter, they were 21 points down. We moved forward. Pendlebury did like a volleyball tap into the forward line, about 50 out. The goalie grabbed it, tried to play on, snapped a short flat kick. Treloar mark, Treloar beautiful snap.
Yep.
On the left foot, I'm pretty sure. Nailed it.
There was a massive sigh of relief from about 50,000 people.
27 points, and I'm pretty sure the next one was a rock contest where Grundy tapped it and effectively roved his own tap, rode a bump and snapped it in, and from that was like, okay, you're not going to lose.
No, that's it.
A lot of great performances in this game. Sidebottom was superb. I can't believe how much he bagged him this year.
No, incredible performance.
Yep. Coxie goes without saying.
Goes without saying. And so we're not going to say it.
We will. That second quarter, he was Wayne Carey-like. He sees the game.
Oh, no, I don't think Carey was ever that good.
No, and no, I won't say that. But he was fantastic. He sees his opportunities. He converted. Again, if you convert truly, how much does it change the game? We were 23 points up, and I think it went to 41 points up because he kicked three goals straight.
Yeah, at a crucial time. Yeah.
And I remember that third one was like on a little bit more of an angle. It was like, surely he's not going to get 3 in a row. He didn't. Totally changed the complexion of the game because that's when Richmond, I think, thought, shit, we are in deep trouble. And the thing with Cox, if he marks like that and converts like that, it terrifies the opposition defence.
There's nothing you can do about it.
And if it terrifies the opposition defence, then that means the guys around Cox can now start getting loose because they're now thinking about, we've got to double team, triple team this guy, we've got to go up, we've got to watch what he's going to do because he's dominating so much.
Yeah, it creates opportunity for a lot of loose men to run off him. Because, in nearly every marking contest, he at least had 3 blokes going up with him.
Taylor Adams, another great performance in the midfield.
I don't know, I heard he was pretty bad.
I wish Bubbleheaded Booty said that. Adams is great. Jack Crisp was fantastic.
Yeah, massive unsung performance, that one. That guy just, throughout the whole year, just hasn't got enough plaudits for his year.
Driver told me he's played 91... Crisp, not Driver. He's played 91 games straight. But again, the thing with Crisp...
91 games straight. Sure, I didn't know that.
Yep. So, Crisp has kicked 2 goals from a half-back flank.
Yeah, that's...
So, which is better than whoever his opponent was. A lot of other guys chipped in when required. Any other thoughts about this game?
No, it was just an absolute pleasure to watch. And we're in a grand final, and probably this is something we want to talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a bit more depth. Interestingly, at the pub after the game, I was walking through the courtyard. A Richmond supporter accosted me. He's, I don't know, mid-late 20s. Smelled of desperation. And he told me Collingwood only won because Richmond have injuries.
You got to love a comedian.
I turned around and said to him, "You seen our injury list?" And he goes, "You're pretenders." And I go, "Well, what's that make you?" He lost to us. And he didn't know what to say. You know, if you there's some Richmond supporters know have been very gracious about the defeat. We outplayed them. They are not making excuses. To that guy, if you're watching, if you're out on day release or whatever the case might be, you're an idiot, mate. Big thank you to Driver. Thanks to the marvels of Ticketek. I actually didn't get a prelim final ticket.
Yeah, neither did I initially.
And yes, that's right, you were fast. And Driver stepped in and found me a ticket. So big thank you to Driver. Aren't you thanking someone? No,
yes, Ram. You know who you are.
I thought it was Foxy.
No. Oh, well, yeah. Sorry, Foxy. Yeah, he gave up. That was
doesn't like you, obviously.
That ended up being mine.
Yep. All right. So that is it from the match review. We're going to be back with a new segment.
Another one.
Yes, another one.
Shouldn't we be not toying with the form?
We have no form.
No, this is true.
We'll be right back
after these messages.
So we are back with a segment I am going to call The Rip. It's here somewhere, I see.
But it's not torn.
So anyway, I'll tell you what fucking annoys me, and I've been on about this the whole year. It's annoyed you to an extent. The amount of Collingwood supporters who condemn players on very few games. All right, best example, Mason Cox. Did he play a decent game on Friday night? In a high-pressure match against the Breening Premiers?
Let me think about this for 1 second. Is the answer yes?
No. It's fuck yes. Coxie was brilliant. There was some genius who has a beard and used to commentate in the football.
The paddle pop line?
Yes, exactly. Who, after round one, said he's not going to make it. On, 10 games of evidence?
Well, Robert Walls is getting old. Or was he talking about Cox?
I think he was talking about Cox.
Does he remember what Cox is?
I don't know, but, it wasn't a stand-up prediction. Surely you give this guy the time to actually play a little bit before you make such an audacious call as that. And there's been plenty of people on the message boards who have ridiculed Coxie.
Let's name them.
They're going to be up here. Okay, we're listing him. The one thing I think people forget with Cox too is he's 8'6". He is preferably a ruckman. That's usually the height you play ruckman. Anyone.
Only if you stack two on top of each other.
Yeah, but you get a guy like him, or if anyone could sort of get like a tall player and go, let's just play at full forward. Everybody would be going out and doing it. They are forcing Cox into this position thanks to injuries to Reid and Moore, and the way things haven't really worked out. Correct. And you know what? He's done a fucking pretty good job for a guy who didn't know what football was 4 years ago, and he's only like 30, 40 games into his career.
43, I think it is.
Yeah. Well done, Coxie. We've always been a fan. Taylor Adams, 17 kicks, 19 handballs, 5 tackles, 69.4% disposal efficiency. Apparently he is still terrible. He doesn't know how to kick. He's poor by foot all the time. Apparently 100% of the time he's poor by foot.
Is there a stat for that? Surely they've just invented a stat on the app to give him that ability to be number one at something.
Well, I don't know. It's the AFL. Can they invent anything of use?
Yep.
Adams is integral to that midfield. He gets the ball. He's fanatical. He's the sort of player, midfielder, and this is not a criticism of the other midfielders because you need the synergy of different sort of players. But Taylor Adams is that I'll jump on the grenade to win the ball type midfielder.
Do all the other players go away and he just stays still when it explodes?
Yeah, and that's how they spread. They spread like that because it blows up on the hand. Adams has been fantastic. I don't know why he still gets the level of criticism he does. Admittedly, he does shank it sometimes. Everyone does. Sometimes he might have one more shank or something. But the level of criticism he gets for what he actually does is just totally disproportionate. So
he's a whipping boy.
Tom Langdon.
A bit like you with Hoskin Elliott.
Love Hoskin Elliott. What's he done last 2 weeks?
He's been vital to the structure.
Yeah, no, Hoskin Elliott's been good, but I just look at what, you expect from players when they're out there. I don't just sort of look at, like, one facet of their game and go, well, you're shit. We should never play you again. I might ask for more output from him. But Tom Langdon's another one. He has been roundly criticised predominantly by all our supporters, or by a lot of our supporters. He's been fantastic this whole year.
Excellent. More than excellent.
And he's had to play often totally out of his weight division because of all the injuries. Against GWS, he played that last quarter like the way we usually move the ball forward and kick to the opposition's interceptor. He just took everything. And the other guy I'm going to mention, and this one I'm passionate about, Brody Myercheck. 28 goals, 17 points from
148 games.
From 15 games.
15 games, can you believe it?
45 shots on goal from 15 games from a guy who only played his first game this year.
This time last year, it was a defender in the VFL side.
It was thrown really into the forward line in the VFL just by accident. And they said, geez, he plays that well. He's thrown into a forward line where he's now the second key tall behind an American guy who's just picked up the game also. And he's kicked 28 goals from 15 games, and people are still going, oh, geez, I don't know if he's good enough. What the fuck? Seriously? I don't understand the way supporters criticise players on such a small sampling, particularly when those players have shown enough to suggest, there's something there to work with. And people might go, oh, yeah, but he doesn't play like a key positioner. He plays like whatever. It's like, well...
Did they say it like that as well?
Yeah, they say it exactly like that.
What a bunch of assholes.
Yeah. And you know who you are. But it's like...
It's not just one person, is it?
No, it's more than one.
3?
Yeah. You look at him and go, well, he's kicked 28 goals in the forward line that regularly gets about 100 points. Is there really an issue there? And people go, what about the games where you don't get 100 points? What do you mean you get 60 and 70? It's like, well, every team goes through that. I mean, Richmond, they get bloody on Friday night. Premier team in the league. Sometimes you're just going to have games where the defence beats you or the delivery is shit. Myercheck is doing a fantastic job.
Keep it up, buddy.
Yeah. And I really just don't get it when people criticise players to this extent. Jack Crisp was another one people jumped on in terms of, like, he had a great first season and people are really ridiculing him for his next season. Just fucking give these guys a chance, Does it really have to be a shitfest from the beginning? People making these precocious predictions of, I've seen him play 2 games, that's enough, he's not going to make it.
Yeah, people have been written off far too early.
Yeah, fucking give these guys the time to physically mature, to psychologically mature, to play the game and to make it or not make it, but, give them time to do either. Instead of these premature evaluations.
Isn't that a medical condition?
Yes, you can try stuff like that. There's pills that will stop you from prematurely evaluating.
What would they be called?
I hear it's a case of there's a pill called shut the fuck up. A big dose of shut the fuck up.
You wouldn't need to market that particularly hard, I wouldn't have thought.
No, it's very big in the Liberal Party.
So what else we got in the rip? What else is the rip covering?
That was it.
That's it? What a rip snorter that was.
All for that joke, huh? Hey, mate, we'll be right back with the big one.
Ooh, the big
match
dance.
Preview, Collingwood, West Coast.
Who would have fucking thought?
So here we go for the match preview. Collingwood, West Coast, the 2018 Grand Final. Some stats I'll just throw out from Turtle. Turtle texted me to tell me Jock McHale won his first flag in his 7th season as coach. Buckley is now in his 7th season.
Ooh. Can we afford Twilight Zone music?
Just do it. If they can play him, we'll blame Turtle. 4 times, this from Ron Conley, 4 times in the Final 8 era since 2000 that a quarter-final clash has been repeated in the Grand Final, but the result has reversed.
Yes.
And the only one I can name in that was 2003. We beat Brisbane in the qualifying final.
Yeah, correct.
And then lost to them in the Grand Final. I don't really care about the rest if we're involved.
Fuck them.
Yep. 12 players from West Coast losing Grand Final were playing in the preliminary final.
Let's hope they have a repeat performance.
And that it's infectious. Collingwood has only 3 2010 Premiership players remaining in the current team, which is Scott Pendlebury, Steele Sidebottom, and Tyson Goldsack. And then you have Varco from the 2011 Premiership team. Unfortunately, it's not our Premiership team.
But we'll take it at the moment.
I don't know if he's correct, but I'm just going to take it on face value. Somebody texted me and said, apparently West Coast are 12-0 when Kennedy and Darling play.
At the G?
I don't know. Well,
it's
in general.
In the positives. Oh, yeah, sorry, okay. I should have known that.
Yeah, you're the stats man. And onto selections now. Would you go in unchanged, or would you throw in a Hail Mary?
Well, this Hail Mary also has to be called Darcy Moore. Surely he is close to being fit. I just don't think you've done anything now to warrant making a change. So everybody who's going to line up next week deserves to be there. I don't think you'd rock the boat now, would you, and bring him in?
I wouldn't do it.
Let's move on then.
Other thing you got to consider, though, is on the negatives, he hasn't played for 8 weeks. So you're going to have to just drop him in. He's going to have to hit the ground running.
Well, that's almost an impossibility.
Yeah, and you got to hope that his hamstring doesn't go.
No, it's not worth the risk.
On the flip side, you're looking at Kennedy and Darling, and do you try and do something a little bit different for him?
Yeah, I think we ran him really close in the qualifying final without Moore,
and with two guys who came back from
severely underdone. I think we would have learned a lot from that game, and we're gonna take those lessons into how we deal with those two. At the end of the day, you deny them to supply, which is something we've said a lot this year. This is going to be a battle in the midfield. If nobody's kicking it to those two, they're not a problem.
Well, hopefully we can maintain that pressure in the qualifying final. That fell away in about the last 15-20 minutes. They started getting a lot of supply.
And who went off at that point when it all started to fall apart?
Adams went off, and a lot of underdone players really struggled into the dying minutes of that game. I was talking to you about this earlier.
Oh, let's not mention it then.
But I will.
Oh, okay.
Several times in the history of following Collingwood. Alright, so we all know about Collingwood.
This is about losing grand finals?
Yes. So we've lost, I don't know, was it 27 now or something?
What, this week?
In our history.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of those have been about the last 50 years. So several times in our history, I've looked at the club and thought, you now have a chance to reinvent yourself. So 1990 won that flag. I thought we had a really young list. We had the chance to build a dynasty. We fucked it up. And we just ended up finishing that decade wooden spooners.
This fucking it up, that's going to be a theme in this, isn't it?
Yep. So 2002, coming out after wooden spoon 99, I thought if we win that flag, we will establish ourselves as a powerhouse. We just fell short, but we still fell short. Then 3 years after a wooden spoon, if we won a flag, that would have just been amazing. 2010, again, a really young team. I would have thought would win another flag at least with that squad, if not two. And that's just totally unravelled. And every time it's unravelled...
I think Collingwood can kill Collingwood.
Yeah, we've reinforced the Collingwood contemporary culture of we really only get there to lose. This is your chance now, Collingwood, to actually totally reinvent the club, redefine...
Stake in the ground, you think?
Oh, yep. Line in the sand type grand
Every other cliche that involves that.
So
Snake in the woods.
Yep. So what are your thoughts about
Bear in
the
a
contest?
forest.
Don't know even know what that
No, I'm
means.
just making stuff up as I go along. Sorry, go ahead.
What do you think about the game?
Jeez, I mean, how many times have we been here? It's natural, I think, to look at what the worst case scenario is and start mentally preparing yourself for it as a survival mechanism, because I don't cope well with any grand final loss. Never have, never will. This week...
You've had so much practice.
This week will be one long, arduous, a lot of time spent in the toilet, stomach flipping around, doing somersaults, and by Monday I'll have eaten everybody's fingernails that I can get my hands on. So having said that, though...
Hang on, just before you go on, one thing, having said all that, how much pressure are the team feeling? So a lot of them are inexperienced, they haven't played in grand finals, only got, I think the 4 players who play grand finals. We do get a lot of experience with blockbusters, with Anzac Day. We're playing in front of big crowds, but this is still a grand final, so it's an occasion. You lose Anzac Day, you got the next week to come back. Same with any blockbuster.
So this is a two-edged sword. I mean, West Coast have got, would you say it was 12 players
Yeah,
who've
in the
experienced,
prelim.
who would be out for atonement, but would also have that spectre over their head about what it feels like to fuck up and lose
My
these
spectre
things.
against your spectre.
At the moment, we have a side that's playing with such self-belief that this could just take you to an impossible destination that we didn't think was going to exist this year. And that could be enough to put that nagging doubt to bed in terms of how they'll approach this game, how they'll prepare. There's a lot of absorption of this week that have to be taken into account. But at the moment, all they know is winning. And so many of these young blokes only know winning. It'd be agony to lose this, but at the moment, you get a sense that there's going to be more momentum our way in that mental game, especially if we can find a way to start early again and kick away early.
Also, again, I was going to say that match on Friday night was perfect because the ball went to De Goey first up. And De Goey, you get a sense of he is a big occasion player.
Yep.
He's the one who's going to take the responsibility on. He's not going to look for the handoff. And that in itself is a skill set. So he got that first pass deep in the pocket. And I remember actually turning to someone just going, well, it's deep in the pocket. He did the play on, he snapped it. And you get a goal like that straight off, and then that really lifts the team. You miss that first on, and people think, oh shit. Like that happened in 1990. We were attacking, we didn't do anything. The players were actually, they admit, they were panicking. They were thinking, what's going on? We've had all the play, haven't got a goal. And Dacos got that beautiful goal from the pocket. And I remember Gavin Brown saying in the documentary, the final story, just going, after he got the goal, I thought, okay, we're right. We've got this guy. He can do that sort of stuff. So it's important that whoever gets the first shot, and presumably it won't be like Melbourne that might have their first shot goal until third quarter, but presumably
10 hours after the game's finished.
Presumably whoever gets the first shot just has to nail it. You know, we need to take those early chances, put the doubt on them, and give our guys the self-belief to, you know, be running.
Yeah, I mean, conversely, looking at it, West Coast had an exceptionally easy game up there. They've essentially played, one game now in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Is this going to work for them or work against them, do you think?
Well, I do think, you know, it's
one thing to win on your own dung heap with a whole bunch of booing supporters cheering everything you do, no matter how stupid it is. But to come here, we should well and truly outnumber a supporter base that will travel.
Yeah.
They don't particularly play the G that convincingly the way that they do, Optus Stadium or whatever it is.
Yeah.
A ground that was purposely built to mimic the dimensions of the G to try and rectify that. All these things should be sitting in the back of their heads somewhere that just need to be exploited from the outset.
So I'm a big believer in the psychology, you know, and it's the old adage of you start the game the way you finish the last one. And they were fantastic in that first half. In that second half, they started playing for self-preservation. They were getting a little bit extravagant, and, you know, they looked a little bit lazy to me. And I think that's happened a few times where Swans did it a few years ago against Hawthorn. They smashed North in the first half of the prelim, and they just sort of really just played like millionaires. We did it in 203, smashed Port in the first half, played like millionaires last. And every one of those teams went into the grand final the following week, just took ages to get going, and it was too late by then. So I'm actually hoping that I had the game won at half time, even though we were up by 44 points. Richmond came at us, so we had to, like, you know, we had to remain mentally committed and physically committed and all that. West Coast had their grand final tickets booked at half time, and they played like that. So I'm hoping when they come into the game, they're actually just going to be a little bit mentally off. I'm hoping. I mean, you got to hold on to whatever you can get. In terms of Darling and Kennedy, who would you play on them?
Oh, we're going to have to play Saki and Howe again, I think. And, you know, for the bulk of the game, that combination worked last time. And you think Howe had a bit of a stinker, but these two weren't really... They didn't get into the game until that very last quarter. If we can deny the supply again and take them out of the equation, they could fold. Yeah, look at the way that Tex folded last year when things weren't going his way. I mean, you can mentally switch off.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've got some demons in their heads going to this game. Well, the demons are gone now, to be honest. But
they definitely went in their heads.
I reckon that doubt needs to be exploited and get that sense of, oh no, it's happening again.
Yeah.
Whereas we just don't have any... We have no one's experienced this yet. Not yet. Don't say yet. Don't talk inevitables. But yeah, I think that the way that both sides will attack this will be completely different, and a lot of it's going to be won and lost up there, I think, at the start. Again, it's going to be a battle of the midfield. I think our midfield is hopefully superior again. You know, we dominated the qualifying final for the first half because of the midfield dominance, and when the midfield dropped off a little bit and we lost Adams, that's when they got back into the game. And you can't afford to give anyone a sniff these days, especially in a grand final or any final, that can give them a sense that there's a potential here to come back.
Well, Elliot Yeo did well against us last time. Luke Shuey looked like he was gone during the Melbourne game. He limped off, he came back, he was running around fine.
And McGovern's got bruised or potentially cracked ribs.
Yeah. We can crack him if you'd like. No. So, Greenwood's going to have to go, hopefully, to Yeo and try and shut him out of the game. Although our midfield was dominant for 3 quarters previously, I don't think any of the midfielders had a dominant game. It was just sort of a collective performance. I mean, a lot of the preliminary final win was built on side bottoms brilliance. You know, it was just that first half you're going, who is on him? And I can't believe...
It was incredible.
I can't believe that Hardwick wasn't putting someone on him, saying go to him or whatever. I mean, it's one of those games you usually see in reverse when, like Tom Mitchell was running around getting 84 possessions and we're just going, maybe put someone on him. You're going to need side bottom to be very good. Not saying as brilliant as he was Friday night. If he could be, that'd be great.
I think he's up for the challenge.
Yep. Pendles has been down since he contracted leprosy.
I have a semi-theory on this as well, but keep going.
Oh, no, but he's someone, I think, and he's won medals in big games and stuff like that, so he's not afraid of the occasion, but he's someone who's really going to have to assert his influence.
Yeah, I think this is also a changing of the guard essence as well, too, that as much as his output is diminishing, it's also because he's not having to shoulder so much of the burden.
Yeah.
There is a lot of young blokes around him now that are rising up to the occasion and doing the sorts of things that he used to do or have to do. And I think his output is also a byproduct. Now, I've no doubt it's about the fact that he's had a bowler for about the last 6 weeks and was hospitalised and that sort of thing. You don't get rapid fitness back from that, I should not think. But yeah, I think it's also a mix of that and the fact that he's not having to do as much these days.
Interestingly, in terms of omens, prior to the drawn grand final, he had bad gastro and lost like 6 kilos. So maybe it's a sign that when Pendles nearly dies from some illness,
we win a flag.
Yep. Adams will have to be good. What we'll really need, though, is what happened Friday night, and we actually said this in the preview of the Richmond game, is you're going to need a couple of guys in the forward line to really stand up. And on Friday night, it was the Goey and Cox.
More of that, please.
Yep. They're going to have to work out a way to use Cox so he's not constantly tunnelled and scragged and all that sort of stuff. It would be great if the Goey can kick another 4 or whatever, but you really...
14, I'll take.
Yeah, that would be even better. You're really going to need 2 of these guys to just step up and go, hey, I will win the game for us. Oscar Elliott and Thomas have been a little bit quieter lately. They've been playing a little bit higher up.
I was about to say that it's that old adage about it's not your best 6 that win your grand final, it's your bottom 6.
Yeah.
And there's a number of guys that have been quiet for a couple of weeks that we'd really love to have a big one as well. It's got to be an all-round team effort.
But this is what you're going to need. I mean, because we have I shouldn't say it's like an unrenowned forward line, but you don't have your Tom Lynch, your Jack Rewalt type player in there.
Unpredictable is the word you're looking for.
But they're not as highly regarded, all these forwards.
I regard them.
Yeah, even though a lot of them got over 30 goals now. Stevenson's another one. You're going to need 2 of these guys to cause a bit of havoc.
But that's the beauty of our forward line at the moment. You just don't know from week to week which 2 that's going to be that could potentially pop up.
Yeah, I think the issue, though, is in the losses we've had this year and some of the closer games, like when we played Carlton and Essendon the second time, what's generally happened this year is sometimes when we've started slow, it's just like finding that balance, which is going to work in the forward line for that game. The games we've struggled, that hasn't happened. So usually someone's popped up. Josh Thomas has popped up, or DeGoey, whoever, and they've kicked the bag, and everyone else has chipped in. When we haven't won, it's just that one guy hasn't really popped up and hasn't created, I guess, the chaos in the opposition defence, so the other ones can start slipping under the guard. So I really think you need a couple of players, like Cox did on Friday night, who are just going to jump up, seize the opportunity, and then not only kick a few goals, but make the opposition think, shit, we need to be mindful of this guy.
Who do we run to?
Yeah, and then while that's happening, these guys are now getting loose.
Yeah, totally agree.
Any other thoughts about this game? I mean, one other thing that comes to mind is Grundy needs to have...
an absolute blinder.
Yeah, I think statistically he's been good in the finals, but I don't think influentially in the actual games he's been brilliant. He's had brilliant moments, like he was really good in the last quarter against Richmond. But prior to the finals, he was dominating games. He was influencing them. He got like 152 tap outs against Vancouver's. But I don't think like they were a real sort of dominant performance.
There was some brilliant work though with the ball with him, though.
But that's what I'm saying. He had some brilliant moments.
If you had to have a game where you're sort of starting to work yourself back into that bit of form, that's not a bad precursor to that. What a great one this weekend.
So my concern is that Lysets actually seems, I don't know why, Lysets seems to do well against him. He did well the first time we played West Coast. He did well against the final. Vardy also did well. So I don't know if it's just a style that Grundy struggles against, or if they match up in a way that Grundy can't assert himself the way he does against other ruckmen, but Grundy needs to really impact the game.
First use of the ball and clearances are going to be so important.
Yeah. So any final thoughts?
Just fucking win. Just win.
Yeah.
I've seen 2 wins in my life, 2 draws and 7 losses. If draws are rarity, what's that make our wins? Let's start getting the ledger back into where it should be.
Yeah.
We've all done the hard yards. Let's start winning a few of these fucking things.
Yeah. So Collingwood's been exceptional this year to ride all the shit they've gone through and to actually be here. I don't know anyone...
Still hard to believe, to be honest.
I was going to say, I don't know anyone who is sitting back and going, oh yeah, I thought this was going to happen. I would imagine even the most ardent fan would say... Well, given the injury run and all that, I thought, at some point we're going to fall away. It's been a fantastic effort, and I mean, all those critics who 3 weeks ago were saying they haven't beaten anyone in the top 8, Well, now
stick it up them.
Yep, we've beaten now GWS and Richmond, and if you look at Richmond, Adelaide being the grand final last year, we've been the reigning grand finalists, and we've got some pretty good other scalps in there. So I don't think that's really a cause for criticism anymore.
And you think it's almost a parallel to the O2 final series where you sort of thought going into it, well, we've been out of it for that long. It's experience where we're going to get here, but then they just kept winning.
Yeah.
Now we admittedly didn't do that. We come very close in the first one, but we've been really good since then. It's another sort of feeling going into it that hopefully our best is brilliant, but our best is not going to be just near enough. Really just got to get that 12th gear into place and just win the fucking thing.
Yeah, and I remember in the documentary, the final story about 1990, Tony Shaw got up pre-game and just, I can't remember what he said exactly, but something like...
Just win the fucking thing up.
You said, like, I've
just win the fucking flag.
It's like, I've played in 2 losing grand finals, I'm not going to play in a third. And I actually think it's fantastic and important that you got guys who were there in 2010 in there because they can actually relay to the players.
You remember the story about, I think it was Freeborn and three-quarter time, really revved him up about what it means to win one of these and that sort of thing. So hopefully that there is some of those stories out there.
Any final thoughts?
Just win.
Same from me. So what's your tip?
Pies by 28.
I was going to say Pies by 23. I was really close last week. I think I said 34.
I'll take yours.
Just win Collingwood. Whatever it takes, just win.
Even if it's a bit of this?
Just sweep the league. I didn't say that. So we should be back next week, win or lose. But look, if we lose, I don't know. I might just flee to Cuba or something.
Yeah, I'll be there as well.
Yep.
Yeah, don't take it personally.
Yep. All right. Go Pies.
Go on, Woods! That's it, we're home.